Welcome to the Not So Random Thoughts of a Thinker, the podcast, where we are intellectual as fuck. My name is Anna, and we are here to talk about all things counterculture. So today I'm going to talk about my brother. His name is Arlen Lawson. He was 43 years old when he died. He committed suicide last year in April, and he was found by a friend of his who was doing a wellness check on him with the police on April 4th of last year. So that is the actual date of death that's listed on his death certificate. He overdosed on Benadryl, and he left a note, and he left two notes actually, and he left a page that he printed out that suggested that someone had been cyberbullying him. I want to talk about Arlen, but it's very, very hard, because to talk about Arlen's story is to talk about my story, which is to talk about my brother's story, our older brother's story. His name is Mike. And to talk about our mom, talk about my mom's siblings, my grandfather. And it's so much. And I'm just at the age and having the emotional capacity to unpack all of the things that happened to us as children when we were growing up. And his death is it's a sorrow, deep sorrow for the living. And for me, I feel sorrow for what he felt, what he experienced, making that decision. And it's very deep, and I don't even really know where to start. So I have a list. I'm going to start there. And the list says to start with Arlen's childhood. So let's do that. Arlen is 2 years younger than I am. I'm 46. His birthday is on October 26th, and mine is on October 22nd. So we shared our birthdays as we were growing up. We have an older brother. His name's Michael. He's 2 years older than I am, so he is now 48. And we have an older brother. His name is Gareth, and I believe that he's 6 years older than Mike. So Mike is 48. He would be 54 now. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, to be honest, because we don't talk to each other. I didn't grow up with him, and he lived with his father, and I lived in foster homes. So back to Arlen. When we were very, very young, we were toddlers. Arlen was probably 4 and I was 6. He was 3 and I was 5, and Mike would have been 7. In Arizona, my mom was hitchhiking across Phoenix with all 3 of us in the desert with no water and completely delusional. So I believe that the police spotted her. I don't really know all the details to this because I was a kid and I don't remember all of it. But I do remember being picked up by the police and going into, I think, McDonald's because it was cool inside. And I remember swinging my feet on one of the little chairs while we ate ice cream. And we got a balloon from the police officer, which I was excited about. And also terrified about what was happening because it felt very official and scary to have police officers, walking around and talking to us, and didn't feel safe. Arlen remembered it. He wrote a story about it. It's called Desert Pepper. And when after this actually, we were put into a group home in Phoenix that was called Casa de los Niños, and we stayed there a very brief time, I believe, only a couple of weeks, but while I was there, I got chickenpox. I remember that very clearly. I don't remember much of what Arlen was doing or Mike. I just know that we were together and we saw our mom a couple of times while we were there. From there, we were placed into a foster home. I don't even know where it was at, to be honest with you, that I hated. And Arlen had a few memories of that he also wrote about. And eventually, we were returned to our mom. And when I ordered the court records for our time in foster care in California from 1985 to when we all aged out of the system, so it would have been 96 for me, 94 for Mike, and 98 for Arlen. And those CPS records said that we were returned to our mom in Arizona because of a glitch in the system or some sort of oversight in paperwork or documentation. So we returned to her, and my mom immediately bailed from Arizona and moved back to Anaheim, which is what we did. I remember moving, and I don't know if Arlen does, but I remember it. He didn't write about it, and I don't know, he didn't say anything to me about it. So we moved from Phoenix back to Arizona. From Phoenix to Anaheim. And from there, we ended up living with a man named Joseph Lawson, who was my younger brother's father. He was my stepdad for a while, actually, until he died. There's problems with that relationship that Arlen suffered from as well. And after we ended up living with Joe, my mom found an apartment in a place called Shade Tree Apartments in Anaheim, and we lived there for, I think, several months. I'm not really sure. We moved more than once, but I was very little, and so I don't remember all of it. By this time, we had turned a year older, so I was 6, almost 7. Arlen was, I was 6, so he was 4, and Mike had just turned 9. So in August of 1985, the neighbors or the management office at the apartments we lived in called CPS, and my mom CPS had already been called previously, but she had moved, and so they couldn't get a hold of her. This time they were able to catch her, not in the act of anything, but they were able to get a hold of her. Long story short, we were moved from her care. We were put into a group home in Anaheim called Orangewood, and we never ever went back to living with my mom. Arlen was a baby. I wasn't much bigger, and my older brother, who bared the brunt of being the oldest and having the most awareness of what was going on, we really suffered. And then Mike had a ongoing relationship with my mom throughout his life. He lived with her for brief periods of time, and it's his story to tell in this regard. He did live with her. They ended up my mom took him to Mexico for a while when he was, I think, 13. I'm not exactly sure of the ages because we didn't live together, and that was really traumatic for him. So he has a more concrete relationship with my mom more than I did. I stopped talking to her when I was around 8. And I don't know if Arlen had much of a relationship with her after we moved into the foster care or not. We never went back. I aged out of the system at 18, so did Arlen. Arlen moved to Iowa to go to college there and really had a hard time. He came back to Sacramento briefly, where he got into a huge argument with my older brother and with me. Eventually moved down to LA. The argument that we got into was bitter and painful, and we didn't talk to each other for about a decade after that. So I didn't really know what was going on in his life. My older brother had more conversation with him, knew what his goals were, his dreams, and what he was working on, and the things that were bothering him. A little bit closer, not super close, but more regular than me. Arlen would send me random text messages and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, and we'd chat for a second and then move on. But we weren't close. We were more having conversations about our memories of when we were growing up, living together, and how we felt about that. And it was painful for him all the time. So he graduated he went down to LA after he came to Sacramento, moved back to Iowa. He lived in Coralville, which is close to Iowa City, if I am remembering correctly. And he became mildly famous there. People knew him. He did a lot of music and stand-up and monologues and plays. He's really well known in the artist community there. He never felt loved. I mean, I think that's why he killed himself. I think that is his overarching theme in his life, is the pain of the childhood that we both experienced, the loss of our mother, the shitty relationship with his dad, who was alive but left us in foster care and, in essence, abandoned him while he was still alive, giving him barely enough attention to warrant love. I can't even fathom how that would feel for Arlen. It wasn't enough for me, and I wasn't his biological daughter. I loved him, though. But it wasn't enough. And I can't even imagine the hurt that Arlen felt and the pain that he carried around, which he expressed well in his music, which he wrote music. He played the guitar. He wrote the music, wrote the lyrics, and performed it, which is just striking to me, the ability to have that kind of music in your head and to hear it and then to put it on, to hear it for one thing, and then to be able to perform it. I mean, it's just amazing to me. His band name was called Old Man Charlie. It was him, and he would play his guitar and sing. It's online. It's called oldmancharlie.bandcamp.com, I think, is where you can listen to his music. And I've been listening to a lot of it this past week, because I feel closer to him now than I ever have in my whole life. Well, except for when we were kids. I feel closer to him and knowing what motivated him, how he may have felt in his last couple of weeks of life, why he would make the decision to end his life. And I miss him. And I think this just needs to be said. My mom fucked up our lives. She really fucked up our lives. She hurt Arlen. She hurt me. She hurt Mike. Oh God, she hurt Mike. There's so much more I want to say, but I don't really know where to begin. You know, I guess I could tell stories at some point, which I will. And I don't think anyone's ever going to listen to this, so this podcast is really just a useful tool for me to get the story out of my experience, my life, my brother. Arlen's amazing. He didn't deserve to die. I understand exactly why he did it. There's no blame. He was fucked up. He was brutally emotionally violated when he was a kid and had zero support as an adult to work through it. He's brilliant and misunderstood and not supported in the way that he needed, as with parents and love. And Mike and I were not capable of doing that either. Mike and I are just now talking to each other after 10 years of not speaking to each other because of shit relationships and an inability to connect with each other. That's another podcast story. I have lots of things I could share about that one. Arlen was beautiful. He had this deep voice, really baritone voice that was kind of raspy, and it sounded fantastic with his guitar. And his monologues are strange and complex and beautiful. And I miss him. And I love him. And he really deserved so much more. So much more. I'm going to end it now because it's been an emotional day. Today we had his 1 year memorial. It was called Remembering Arlen. Annual Remembering Arlen. And I got to listen to his music, listen to his monologues, see his pictures, and speak to friends that he had. He had really good friends. I wouldn't say that he had like a whole huge community of friends, but he was well known in the community, and the people that he called friends, they are very good people. That makes I feel happy. No, that's not the word. I feel comfort knowing that he had good friends, that they loved him, and that he laughed with them, and he spent time with them, and they enjoyed each other's company, and there was connection in his life, even if he didn't always feel loved. I feel a lot of comfort in that. Okay, I'm going to end it here, and I will talk more about this when I am emotionally capable of sharing more. Have a good night. Thank you for spending some of your time listening to this episode today. You can contact me through my website, where you can share ideas, thoughts, and opinions that I am very excited to read. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it, and also please consider following me. Remember, stay intellectual as fuck out there.